Okay, now we have started recording. Alrighty, so first off, hey, how are you?
I'm good, thank you very much. Hope you're okay, baby. Good.
Oh yeah, she's great.
Yeah.
She's a perfect baby, aren't you? Of course, she doesn't even acknowledge me. That's okay.
No.
That's okay. Alrighty, so first of all, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, my name is Leonie Waithman, or L. Waithman as it is on my books, and I've written 3 books right now. It's in one series called The King's Chosen. With book 1 is called Blood Ties. Second one, Hidden Enemies. The third one has just come out. It's Lost Souls, and there'll be one more in this series, and then I'll have other series to write.
Nice. So that last book, are you working on it right now? Is it already finished and waiting to publish, or?
I am, and the pressure's on because all my readers keep saying, "When is it coming out? When is it coming out?" But I mean, I am so close to finishing it, but life is getting in the way at the moment, so it'll get there. Yeah.
Everyone feels that. So, can you give us the title or a hint of what the title is?
That one is called Broken Swords.
Ooh.
Yeah.
See, this is a problem. I just adding more and more series to my list of books to read, and the series is growing higher and higher and higher. It's a problem.
Yeah.
So, 4 books. That's a good chunk. So, when you are in the writing, you're starting to write and trying to get through those stories, what helps you focus on your writing and zone in?
To be honest, just the story itself. I mean, you get so involved in the story. Here, there's the dog. You hear it?
Yeah.
Don't get in. Hold on. She can break open the door, actually. Get in. Oh, there you go. She's jumping on the bed. Yeah, she's not my dog. She's my son's dog, and she knows how to open doors.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, my dog listens. This one doesn't.
Hey, that fits.
So no, when I'm writing, yeah, it's just getting in the zone. Really, you know, you're so involved in the story. You're just playing the scenes over and over in your head, and just drives you forward.
So, how? This is a question that I'm sure everyone needs to answer, but like, how do you find time? Like with everything else that's going on, like we've already talked about, how do you find time in your day? Do you have like a set writing schedule, or is it just when you have the time?
No, you know, I don't find that working for me. I know a lot of authors, they say, you know, I'll write from, 9 to whatever, 2:00. I get so distracted. What I normally do is I take myself completely away from the family and just, allocate like 2 full days of writing. And I can start at 8:00 in the morning and suddenly look at the clock and it's 10:00 at night.
Oh my.
Yeah, and that's really how I like to write. Right now, because life is so busy, my oldest one, no, my middle one is graduating from high school right now, and my oldest one has just come home from college. I've gone pen to paper really because I find that's easier. You know, when you just have a notebook next to you, and when something pops up in your mind, you can just quickly write it down instead of having to log on a computer and get everything started. And yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's how I started Blood Ties as well. Blood Ties is written in 5 notebooks full.
Oh my.
Full. Yeah.
Wait, and I also find it easier to like edit, not like grammar or anything, but just storyline. Because I write it all on paper first, then go and type it in, and then you get to see, oh, this doesn't work here. Oh,
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
Now, editing is different for me though. Once I have the draft and I start to edit, then I can pick a day or like a couple of hours and do section by section. But when I have to have the first draft, come up with the story, yeah, that's when I really need large blocks of time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh. From 8 to 10, that's crazy. Yeah, have you read about the like the older, like way back in the day authors and how they set up their days?
Well, some of them, I mean, most of them have like garden sheds, and that's
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what I have. There's a small cabin that we have, and I go and go off and do my writing there, or I just clear the house out.
You go outside.
Yeah, get rid of the kids, get rid of the husband, can't get rid of the dog and the cat. But yeah, it's just knowing that nobody's in the house. COVID drove me crazy because
Oh no.
everybody home,
Mm.
and then one person comes and asks you a question, and then you answer it, and then somebody else comes, and half an hour later, I'm like, this is not working for me, because every time somebody comes, you have to come out of the story and then go back in. So yeah, when I have somebody in the house, I don't write.
It just doesn't work.
Not working.
It's the distraction, like even knowing that they're there.
Yeah, exactly, because any minute now, they're going to come
And
in.
just waiting.
It's like when the kids are really little, when they're, well, Dawn is a little bit small now, but when they're toddlers and they're quiet, they're really good. Oh, I can make that phone call right now. And as soon as you pick up that phone,
Nope.
that's when they want you.
The imperfect times.
Yes. Yeah.
So 3 books are published. So how do you celebrate those kinds of successes? Like when you're done and it's published, you have the book in your hand. How do you celebrate?
I don't actually, because
Oh.
I've had the celebration already when I've written the first draft. It's like,
No.
yay, got that, and then I think publishing the book, that's just the next step. I still focus on, because I'm not done with this series. So there's another book coming. And then one of the reasons why this one's going a little bit slower as well, because I'm already working on another story. So I'm juggling 2 stories at the moment, 2 different storylines. So no, I mean, yes, it's great holding the book in your hand. I really like it when people reach out to me, and when our readers reach out to me on email and ask questions or something. I'll celebrate those little moments, like, yay, great, they liked it. The connection with them, that's good.
So do you do anything, speaking about like your readers, do you have ways to connect with them more than just the book? Like, do you do like an email chain? Do you do a lot of social media? Like, how else do you connect with your readers besides?
Well, it's mostly by email. People they have my email address to reach out by email, or in-person events. I've done quite a lot this year, and people, you talk to readers there and then. School visits. I mean, I love those, especially when I had a returning one. The school asked me back because a lot of the kids had read Blood Ties, and then when Lost Souls came out, they wanted me to come back, and they were, the kids were just lining up by the door because they wanted to ask me all the questions about what's going to happen, and I'm like,
Oh,
really?
that would be a crazy
That
feeling.
was really, really nice. And then it's like they had the whole list of questions, and it's, do you really want me to answer those? And they were like, yeah. And then I'm like, no, because I'm like, yeah, because I'll be spoiling it for you otherwise. Yeah.
Sorry, she's just grabbing things like a nutcracker to chew on, and
Oh yeah.
she's in that stage where she wants to grab literally everything in sight.
Yeah.
She almost pulled down a plate when we went to a diner and almost yanked it off the table. It's like, oh, Chica.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
No, you're good.
Okay, so continuing on that vein of readers. So what do your readers not know about you or your stories that you think they should?
I think a lot of them don't know how the story came about, really, how Blood Ties came about, because it's a medieval story set in medieval times. And they're kind of, when they finally ask me the question, well, where did you get the idea? And when I tell them it was a goat, they kind of just stare at me with wide eyes. I'm like, a goat? I'm like, yep, it's a goat. Because in the Blood Ties, in some of I think, I don't know, chapter 4 now, there's a scene when Lucas walks out of the forest, holding a rope and pulling a goat along behind circus wagons, and in the distance there's a castle. That was the first scene I had in my mind, but the goat is the goat that I met in 2012 in France, and it was a circus goat that I met.
Oh.
Yes, I mean, we were camping. I was family from camping, camping with my family, and there was these plaques on the trees, like a small circus coming, and we were all waiting. And yeah, it was a really small circus, like family circus. I don't know, had maybe 12 people, and they had, a horse, they had a pony, they had a couple of dogs, and they had this goat. And they let the goat stand on this table, and then they put a smaller table on top of it, and the goat got on that, and then they put another table on until the table was really, really small, and the goat was just standing on there with his 4 feet. I don't know, I thought it was fascinating. So 6 years later, goat came in the story.
That's okay. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's super cool.
Yeah, he only plays a really tiny role in the book, but he's there. Yeah.
Okay, so talking about your story. So the goat. So did your plot come first or did the characters?
Well, the goat came first, and then Lucas came first. Yeah. So then Lucas, and then he was walking behind circus wagons. I'm like, And then there's a castle in the distance. I was like, where are they going? Why is that circus going to the castle? What's that boy doing with the circus? Does he belong to the circus? Where's he coming from? And that's when I started backtracking. Okay, where does Lucas come from? How old is he? And backtrack. And I backtracked him to a small village, and that's how the story then starts. Yeah. But yeah, I feel like writing, it's I always say it's like 85% thinking, and then 15%, 20% writing, because it's just constantly thinking about the story and and getting to know your characters and getting to know the story before you put pen to paper, really.
So the further you go on, are you still finding new things out about your characters?
All the time.
Yeah.
But I know him better now. Yes, but in the beginning, and still sometimes as an author, you just few chapters down the line, you write something and you think, that's why that happened. That's why that's I mean, those are nice moments. Yeah.
I'm finding that happen with like the book I'm writing right now. I'm like, oh, there's all these new things that he's telling me. Like, whoa.
Yeah, because I feel like a story writes itself. The story's already there. It's already in your mind, and it's just you're the one that puts it on paper.
Yeah. But people like to make fun of like in the author groups when people say, oh, like my character's not doing what I'm telling him to do, or he's taking over the story, and people make fun of that, but I mean, that's what happens.
Yeah.
Like, yes, it's coming from us, but it's like mine, and like you said, the story drives itself. Like the characters drive the story moves.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm not a planner. Like I plan things and they just go off the rails.
Yeah.
But going off that, what kind of writer are you? Are you a plotter or are you a pantser? Like,
well, Blood Ties was definitely pantsing. I mean, I mean, I had scenes written all over out of order and puzzled them all back together. Hidden Enemies was a bit half and half. Lost Souls was more streamlined. I kind of knew where I was gonna go. So that one, I actually wrote that one in order. That's amazing. And book 4, no, a hit miss. I have to keep going back because I keep adding things and changing things. So I think every book has been different, to be honest. However the story goes. Maybe that has to do with what your own mindset, what you have going on at the time, whether you can think straight, or yeah.
I mean, it also would depend on like what number in the book series you are.
Yeah. I mean, now with Broken Swords, I know exactly where I need to go. But I want things to happen in the story that really are clearly not working. So I have to go back and change it. Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay, so tell me about
baby.
I lost the baby. She disappeared.
I gained 1.
Yeah, her well, I guess technically her great Dana.
Okay.
Lives with us, takes care of the baby while we're at work.
That's great.
Yeah, and she always buys me these. Have you seen these before?
No.
They're the unhealthy version of trail mix. Just
Ah,
kidding. It's peanuts, almonds, and then it's chocolate. No
yeah.
raisins. I can't find trail mix without raisins until this one.
Well, I mean, it's hard to find trail mix without chocolate as well, though.
That's true.
And we live in Texas. Now, why can't they come up with a trail mix without chocolate? Because
I would
you go hiking at a Big Bend, and that chocolate is not going to last.
exactly. I would love just one with cashews and peanuts.
Yeah, yeah. But I
Yeah,
guess you can make it yourself. That's what most people do.
but that's too much work.
That is work. Yeah.
Okay, I have no idea where we were. Writing process, right?
Yes.
Sorry about that. So,
I've got-
tell us.
if I lose power, I've got thunder.
Ooh, we had that big storm yesterday.
Yeah, same here, but it's starting again apparently. So,
Boy,
yeah.
well, not near Austin. It's nice
Mm-mm.
and sunny outside.
Oh, that's good.
So writing process.
Yeah.
What's your writing process? How do you start? How do you move?
Yeah, because that's what we just talked about, right? About whether I was a pantser
Yeah,
or
we talked about the Panther. So
yeah,
how do you start it? I guess is the question.
how to start a story.
Yes, how do you? So I'm trying to find the way to phrase to.
Oh, yeah, I know where you go. Dialogue is how often my story starts in my head. If I put two characters together, if I get stuck, I'll just put two characters together and let them have a conversation. That's normally how, like, because one will say something like, oh, okay, yeah, I got it. So yeah, dialogue. I like dialogue. There's a lot of dialogue in my books, and that's how I often start when I'm getting stuck. I'll just let them work it out.
Nice. I never thought about doing that.
Yeah,
You have given me ideas for when I get
yeah.
stuck.
It's fun. I love writing dialogue. Yeah.
So how do you make the dialogue seem natural?
I don't know. I have no idea, but my editor once told me I need to start writing screenplays because she said your dialogues are amazing. I don't know. Maybe it just. Yeah.
So you just have that skill.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Which is good.
Right.
Okay, sorry.
I don't know. I mean, yeah.
You were just born with it, and that's okay.
Well, because I feel like I was a storyteller first before I became a writer. So I've always, I role played a lot. I mean, I was born in the Netherlands and raised in the Netherlands, and right on the edge of the forest is where we lived. So we were always playing, Robin Hood, Ivanhoe, yeah, all that sort of storyline. Because I mean, TV was rubbish in those days. I mean, like Wednesday afternoons from 3 till 4:30. That's when all the kids were inside watching TV because that was the only time in the week when they had kids programs on. The other times we were all outside. So yeah, what not then? Making up stories and building forts in the forest and yeah.
Have you ever played D&D?
No, what's D&D?
Oh, Dungeons and Dragons. It's a role playing.
D&D. Oh, well, if you say Dungeons and Dragons, yes. No, I haven't.
You might have, if you like the role playing, you might have fun with it. It's where you create. So the DM creates this world with all these interactions, and then the players play it in lifetime.
Right.
So it's like improv. It's fun. I'm not good at it. I'm not good at the acting.
Those sort of games I think are really dangerous because you probably get sucked into it.
Yeah.
And then that will affect my writing. So I try and stay away from games that are, yeah. I mean, I used to play them, but yeah, they're time consuming.
Oh, 100%. Like continuous sessions.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, so I mean, I'm sure you're in author groups are you in author groups on Facebook or
no? Well, yes, on Facebook, yeah.
Yeah. So I've seen, I don't know about the ones you've been in, but I've seen this argued about at what point do you think people can call themselves an author?
Well, I guess when you've published books,
Mm.
really. Is that what I mean, compared to being a writer?
Yeah, like when can you cross that bridge?
I think I don't know. I think it's. I mean, anybody can call themselves whatever they want, really.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, I didn't call myself an author until I had my first published book out.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, nobody actually knew I was writing. But a lot of my friends just said, "Yeah, I published a book," and I'm like, "I didn't know you wrote." I'm like, "Well, no, but I have." You know, for a long time. I just, I'd never published. So, yeah, no, I would not have called myself an author if I had not published my book.
Mm. Okay, so sorry. I'm just thinking because we talked about the writing process. So you said you've been writing. It's been 6 years since you've been writing, or how
No,
long?
I started this story 6 years, 7 years ago now, probably.
Mm.
Yes, 2024. But I've always been writing,
Mm.
but for myself. I always just
Yeah.
wrote for myself. Um, I think my first writing started when in elementary school, when every Monday morning we had to, we came to school and we had to write in a diary for what we did that weekend. And I
Mm.
start writing stories of what I did in that weekend in my diaries, really. That's, I have them here. My mother said, she later told me, she said that she loved those diaries coming back after a few months because that was the only way she could figure out what I was up to all weekend. Because
Oh.
yeah, so I was always outside.
Mm.
She didn't see me until it was dinner time. And then in high school, we had to write stories, and then
Mm.
often I would start a story and then hand that in because it'll be an essay of like 50,000 words or something like that, less than that. It'll be like my first 3 chapters of a story that then would continue, but I never really finished them because then I got bored and moved on to another story until I was about 16. I finished my first story.
Mm.
And I let my father read it, and I have no idea how that happened because I didn't let anybody read it, except for maybe teachers, and then they would, read it out loud in class, and that was embarrassing to me. I did not want that attention at all. So, but my father read that story, and then he said we had an author living 2 streets down from us, and I knew her because she had been to the school. And my father said, why don't you go knock on her door and ask if she wants to read it and see if she can give you some pointers.
Mm.
And I did, and I don't know how I did that either because I was quite shy, and knocking on somebody's door that somebody I didn't looked up to and didn't really know was kind of scary. But I
Mm.
did it. I knocked on her door and I said, "Hey, I've written this story, and I wonder if you would like to read it and tell me all about it, what I need to change or whatever." And she said, "Well," she said, "I'll read it." She said, "But you have to understand that I have a lot of kids and adults coming to my door, asking me to read a story." She said, "So if it's no good, I will tell you." Prepared for that. I said, "No, that's fine. That's what I want."
Mm.
And she contacted me like a week later. And that was handwritten. It was not
Mm.
typed or anything. And she called me and she said, could I come around? And yeah, she really, really liked it. And of course, she gave me all the things, all the points, all the things I was doing wrong, and all the things I needed changing in the story. And I was okay, So I went back, and by then we had a typewriter. I typed the whole story out. It took me several months to do it, and then I went back to her, and she really enjoyed the story. That was also medieval times,
Mm.
and written in Dutch. And then she said, "Well, you should really send it off to a publisher." But same thing now, you send it off to a publisher. We didn't have literary agents then. You could just
Mm.
send it in. She said, "You probably don't hear anything from it. They'll may read it. They may read a few pages and send it back to you with pointers or not, whatever." And I said, "Oh, that's fine." So then I thought, who do I send it to? Well, she'd already said that my favorite author at the time was a lady called Thea Beckman. She's Dutch, and she wrote like medieval era stories, but her stories were really thick, like the Harry Potter thick books.
Ooh.
And this author had said, your story is not as thick, it's a smaller book. It may be a good lead up to her books. So I thought, okay, well, you know what? I'm just going to send it to her publisher then. I don't know where to start. Well, they called me within a week and said they wanted the story.
Ooh.
But by then I was 18, 19, and they said, a lot of things changing, a lot of editing going on still. So could I make all these changes? And I said, sure. But you know what? I wanted to go to college. I didn't want to spend more time on the story really. So I said yes, but that I kind of just forgot about it really. I went to college, and after college I traveled, wanted to see the world.
Hmm.
So I left it, and of course moved to England, and from England eventually moved to the United States, and then you have kids and whatever. So in 2017, when my youngest was, she started elementary school, I thought, you know what, maybe I'll translate that one story that I wrote when I was 16, 17 in English.
Mm.
And as I was doing that, but of course, in the meantime, since 2012, Lucas's story was already sort of, on my mind really. So when I started to translate this one story, Lucas just got in the way. So I was translating one story, and I was writing Lucas's story on the notebook on the other side. And then in the end, it was like, oh, this story can wait. Lucas comes first. So, but then still, I had no intention to publish it, none whatsoever. I just wrote the story, and then I just, kept going and going and going, and then I finished it, and I split it in two, because I felt, well, no, I had it as one still actually, but my second son had a STAR test in April. And he said, and he was always an avid reader. So, and he came to me the evening before the STAR test, and he says, Mom, he said, I don't have a book to read. And I said, well, you have a bookshelf full. But of course, he read them all. And he said, well, he liked his new books. And I said, well, I can't get you a book now. I mean, stores are closed, libraries closed. And I said, but he panicked because he does his STAR test so quickly, then he then has to wait for 3 hours because you can't do anything. So I said, well, I have this draft on my computer. I finished the story, He said, well, can you print it? So I spent the whole entire evening printing like 180 pages out on this printer, put it in a ring binder, in 2 ring binders, and sent it to him to school. And he read it. And then when he finished it, amazing. I didn't expect him to finish it. And it was just a draft, mind you, as well. And then I then asked him, well, what did you think? And I know he was really honest because, that's just, he was blunt. He can come out quite blunt and tell you what's what, but that's okay. So I asked him what was it? What was it like? And he said, it was not as good as Percy Jackson. Right, I'll take that. He said, but it was better than what I've read in the last 6 months.
Ooh.
Really? He said, yes, because he got to the point that he'd read so many books that he got to some of the badly self-published books that we started. They were full of mistakes, because he just read everything already that was there. And then I thought, okay, well, he's running out of series to read. Maybe I need to start thinking about adding my stories, because there's so many kids that just now don't have any more books to read. And he stopped reading because he couldn't find any more books.
Oh.
That's really what made me decide, okay, maybe I'll publish.
Nice.
So, yeah. But now, of course, he hasn't read the finished product, because then I rewrote it, because that was just a draft. I'm like, I can do better than that. This was just a draft. But I keep telling him, you want to read the revised version? I mean, I've rewrote it about 4 times after he read it. He said, no, I read your story. He said, it's totally different now. But
You like the draft.
Yeah. Anyway, that was a long answer.
That's perfect. Exactly what we want. Okay, so what's your writing kryptonite?
Oh, that's a Superman thing, right? Does that make him?
Yeah, that's his weakness.
Yeah. time,
Yeah.
procrastination. Probably, I will always find something else to do but sit down and write. Then that's where I go back to. I have to take myself away
Mm.
and shut everything off so I can concentrate on the story, because there's always laundry to do. There's always a dog to do this, and there's always yeah, yeah. If I have the whole block of time, then I'm great. But it's
Yeah.
life. I guess
Mm.
my kryptonite is life.
Well, yeah, that's my problem. Or my problem is when I want to write, I don't have ideas. Like I don't have anything. But
Oh,
then when
I have too many ideas. Maybe that's it too. I have too many ideas. There's
there's
two
just too much.
stories already playing in my head, and a third one. Well, yeah, there's so many going on. I mean, that's yeah.
Alrighty. So so you have 3 books out, writing the 4th. What has been your favorite one to write?
Um, Probably. Well, that's a hard question because I really enjoyed Blood Ties, but I was still learning a lot in the writing
Mm.
world, because when you write for yourself, that's completely different than
Mm.
when you write for a reader. So Blood Ties wore me out basically because I had to learn so many things about not just the story, but how writing everything down so a reader would understand what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Um, so my easiest one to write was definitely Lost Souls.
Mm.
And I probably, if I'm looking back, probably Lost Souls was probably my favorite then. Because it was easier. Yeah.
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 So what exactly would you say is the difference between writing for yourself and writing for a reader?
Well, I guess it's the world building really, because when you write, you have the story, you have the scene in your head. It's like you're playing this movie over and over and over.
Mhm.
And I explained to one of the kids at the school the other day. I mean, it's like you're in the castle. You put, as a writer, you put your feet on the ground and you're looking around. You see your characters having an interaction or whatever they're doing, but you
Mhm.
also see everything else that's going. You turn around 360 degrees, and there's so much going on, and then deciding what needs to be in the story, and then B, describing it in words so a reader can understand what you're seeing.
Yeah.
But I never want to overdo it too much, because I want the reader to have their own imagination as well. So
Yeah.
my books are kind of fast paced. My editor always tells me to slow down, but they are a little bit fast paced, because I hate reading books and I have to skip 3 pages because they're talking about what they had for breakfast that morning. You know,
Yes.
it's and then when you start having to skip pages, and I'm like, get on with the story. I know what's happening already, so you might as well tell me. You
Come
know,
on.
so come on, yes, yeah.
Mm. Well, yeah, I
Um,
think that's the issue, especially nowadays. Like if I have to read through a whole giant paragraph just describing what something looks like, I'm like, that's cool, but I'm not going to read the entire thing.
No, and then of course my books are YA, but
Mm.
I have written them for age 10 and up, 10 upwards, because my son, when he was in fourth, fifth grade, he was picking up YA books.
Mm.
Now, sometimes they're not age appropriate. I mean, I think there's a little bit of well, I'm glad they came up with new adult genre,
Yeah.
but also the comprehension, but also some of the words that you're using in YA are not suitable, or
Mm.
well, not suitable. They're going over the head of a 10-year-old. So I have written it so they can understand it. So sometimes in the story, I'll repeat a little bit of what happened in the past so they can remember it again. Like an adult may be holding on to a lot more than a 10-year-old might do. But yeah, I mean, my books can be read from, actually my youngest one, I think my youngest reader, as far as I know, was 9, and I just heard the other day from somebody who was 89 who read my story and could not put it down, and was hoping I was going to get the book 4 out soon. And I'm like, oh gosh, 89. Yep. Yeah, she's
Mm.
putting pressure on. But
Sorry, I'm still stuck on the goat, by the way.
On the goat. I love the
Still
goat.
in my head.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I might have a picture of the goat on my phone. Do you want to see if I can pull it up?
Oh, I would love to see it.
Okay. Because I tried to find it. Uh, actually, it might be my binder that I use to go to schools. Oh, yeah. Of course, I have it in there. Yep. Pull it out. Let's see. That's the goat.
Okay, that's crazy.
Isn't that cool?
That is super cool.
Yeah. It was just a small family circus. They actually had a 3-year-old boy who was blonde as well, and Lucas is a bit older, so it's the goat first, but then the boy probably as well a little bit. He was a bit of a cheeky chap. That one was. Lucas is well in the beginning he is, but yeah, it's yeah. I don't know. That just started the whole story up.
That I find that.
I've heard other authors, it could be the simplest thing that
Well, yeah.
just sparks a story.
Well, yeah, like the story that's done the best for me, like it was a dream, like a random dream that was like, oh hey.
Yes, yeah.
That's
Well,
fun.
the story that I'm gonna be writing as well, which was the Dutch one, 67. I'll change it completely. But yeah, that was a dream as well. I just woke up one day and I woke up in the middle of the night and that was the first scene. Yeah, and I wrote that one down. And those are actually the best ones because that was the first story that I finished.
Yeah.
You know? And all the other ones were maybe more forced, because it was an assignment from school or something. I thought, oh, that would be cool. Yeah, but the dream ones are the best.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
So talking about Lucas, describe him in one sentence.
Oh my gosh, I've never asked that question. Lucas. That's a hard one, actually, because he has a lot of characters, and it's a coming-of-age story, so he changes in his character.
We love character
Yeah,
development.
he gets older, so just like Harry Potter gets older throughout the series, so does Lucas. So in the beginning, the first chapter, he's 10, 9 actually, and he turns 10 within 3 pages, and then he'll be 12, 13. Lucas, he's kind. He's curious. He has special powers. He doesn't like it when there's injustice. That's for sure. He will stand up for himself and for others. There's a bully in the story as well. But there's a background to the bully as well. So that's.
So is he like a relatable, quote unquote, villain? Like the bully is like there's a reason he is the way he is.
Yeah, and that gets explained in the story. Yes, yeah. His name is Eli. Yeah, it does explain why pressure from his father, really, and a little bit, of course, DNA as well there. But yeah, that's really pushing him in the beginning. He changes, I mean, there's hope for every bully.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's usually a reason behind all of it.
Yeah.
So, what's the most valuable piece of advice that you've ever been given about your writing?
By who? Sorry?
By anybody.
By anybody. I don't know. Because I get a lot of good advice. And normally when somebody says something, I'll mull it over and think about it. I'm trying to think because my mentor was the Dutch author, and I'm trying to think of what she said. I mean, she gave so much. It's not just one piece of advice. I mean, it's just,
Hmm.
yeah. Um, no, I might have to think about that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to like, what advice would you give? So, what do you think is the best way to improve someone's writing?
To read, keep reading, and just keep writing. I mean, just you like Blood Ties was one draft and four rewrites after.
Mm.
So yeah, just keep improving. I mean, nobody can write. Well, maybe some people can. I don't know. I mean, I don't think anyone can write and publish like one draft in the first draft. You have to be an
Oh.
amazing writer. I mean, maybe when you're 100 years old and you've written 60 books, you can just write in one go. But I mean, I I can't. And you become more critical of your own writing as well. I find that,
Mm.
you know. But most of when you're writing a draft, I mean, everybody says just write. Just doesn't matter what. Don't look at the grammar. Don't look at too many other things. I find it
Mm.
hard myself now because I know so many more things that I'm more critical of myself when I write. I'm like I read it over like no. So yeah.
Okay. So, what do you think has most helped or hindered you in your writing journey so far?
Mm, hinder. We'll go back to time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I could have finished book four like months ago,
Mm.
but helped is probably life experience. I'd say
Yeah.
being out there. Yeah, I mean, I traveled a lot. I mean, so I draw a lot from my own experience. Lucas is out on his own in the world as well, and I traveled through Australia with, just a backpack on my back and by myself. Um, so yeah, yeah, I mean, when I wrote the story when I was 16, 17, I mean, yes, of course I've got some experience, but not
Mm.
the kind of life experience that, the interaction with other people from different nationalities and backgrounds. That's definitely helped now that
Mm.
I'm much older. Yeah.
Nice. It's just nice. So, what do you think are some common traps that authors fall into or that new authors fall into?
I think new authors, I think the ones that haven't published yet, I think they're concentrating far too, they're worrying about publishing already before they've written the story.
Mm.
And I think that's the problem. I think
Yeah.
just write. I mean, but then that's a say not everybody can write though. I mean, you have to come up with a good story as well. I mean, I see myself as a storyteller before I see I'm a writer.
Yeah.
Writing can be learned, so
Mm.
it's a craft. I mean, you develop it, you get better over time, and every book gets better as well. But if you don't have the story, you can be a great writer, but you're not going to go very far.
Mm. So, that just reminded me of a common issue that's been blowing up. How do you feel about people using AI?
I think it's the biggest cheat that's out there. And I think it's also harming, well, it's harming authors for one, because
Mm.
the readers, they don't know how the book
Oh
is
yeah.
generated. I mean, we're putting a lot of time and effort into it. And I think, I don't know about you, but I think most of us are not in there to earn, to make
Oh
money.
no.
I
I
mean,
like. I
we,
just want.
we write because we have to write. Yes, because
Mm.
we have stories to tell. Um, And AI, I think it's just I don't know, it's laziness, I
Well,
think.
yeah. And AI is just what it does is it takes what everyone else has already done and reshuffles it. That's why
Yeah,
people
it's
like AI
plagiarism.
art is messed up too because they just take other
Uh-huh.
people's art and twist it.
Yeah, I mean it's plagiarism the whole
Mm.
way around. I mean, you're talking about those author, writers, things groups on Facebook. There was one that were asked a question, 2 weeks ago. I didn't even comment. I mean, I don't comment on many of them.
Mm.
Who said, if I copy the words of an existing book and then self-publish it with a different title, will Amazon pick up on that? I'm like, I mean, yeah, I mean, I was baffled. I'm like, everybody else commented, like, that's 100% plagiarism.
Because
Well,
why would you even be in the like
why
industry if
would
that's
you
what
want
you're
to
gonna
do
do?
that? But I think so many people, some people, or so many people, they want to be an author. I mean, I want to be a brain surgeon, but there's no way I'm going to be a brain surgeon. You know, it's not for everybody. I mean, not everybody can be everybody. And I think this is the problem. People want to be somebody that they can't be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like it's just laziness. It's like, oh, they have this story, but they don't want to go through the effort of
Yeah.
writing themselves, or they're like, or it's just having their name out there. I
But I
know.
think it's dangerous too. I think because right now, a lot of people don't even know what's real and what's not anymore.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the whole Katy Perry picture that was, going around with the big dress that she had with the moss and all the Met Gala, and then she
Gorgeous
wasn't
dress.
even at the
Oh,
Met Gala. But
yeah.
even her mother fell for it. You
It's
know?
so at this point you can kind of tell like AR pictures. Usually the hands are weird, something's
Yeah.
extra, something like that. But like give it a couple years, you won't know.
No, you
There's
won't
gonna be no
know.
way. Like even with writing, people fall for it. I read about a sci-fi book that won awards that was
Yeah.
written by AI, and I was like, this is so heartbreaking because no one put work into that.
Right. Yeah, and I don't know how you're going to stop that. I mean,
There's no way.
are all books going to be written by AI one of these days? I mean, I've
There's
not read an AI book, but some people saying you can tell the difference. But yeah, like you say, in a few years' time, you may not be. But you know what? AI can't go into schools and do school and author visits.
no.
They.
There's gonna be these authors behind them that are doing it because like AI, if you look at most anything uses AI now, like you just
Yeah.
type in 5 words and then it goes zoop and creates this
Right.
big. Like I think it's useful for some things, but not to write a whole book.
But what's the fun in that?
Exactly.
Because I mean, I'm writing a story because I love to create stories and I love to live the story. If I tell my computer write a story about medieval times and whatever, that sounds so boring to me.
Oh yeah.
You know, um,
I've used AI once, not for writing, for like because I was going through like the email newsletters.
mm-hmm.
I was like, I just want it formatted so then I can plug in, and then it just formatted for me, and then I erased everything it wrote, and then I wrote everything.
Right.
That's the only thing I would ever use it for.
Right.
Because I said like it's useful for those kind of things, so you can just see that. But then,
Yeah.
like I said, not for writing a story. Not for. I don't even think you should plot your story using it at all.
No.
Like I don't think any of the process should be touched by AI.
Yeah. But I mean, if people want to write AI books, I mean, we can't write enough books anyway for people to read. And I'll be writing regardless because I have also so many stories that I have to just put on paper. And if a few people read it, then that's great. If a million people read it, that's great too, because that means a million people get a break from daily life by reading a good book. But at the end of the day, like what you say, celebrating this, after you publish a book.
Yeah.
I just continue. It's a continuous process for me. I just write story, story. I mean, I'll be moving on to the next story already. I have other things in life I celebrate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Maybe that's because I never saw myself as a published author. I just never had publishing in mind when I was writing. Maybe that's a difference.
yeah. Sorry, I'm so sorry. My husband called me, and I'm just saying sorry. Yeah, I think maybe I think when people start to put too much emphasis on the labels, it gets to their head a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, so like there's so many people in like the writers groups, like on there, on the author groups, that just spew out arrogance, and then you read their work and it's like, ooh, you are not the next Stephen King like you claim to be.
Yes. And then there's also this, yeah. I mean, everybody writes different. I mean, I'm not saying names, but I know some authors that are claiming to write, publish a book every 3 months. They have other people writing for them now because they can't keep up.
Well,
You
any like you look at any of the books written by influencers or celebrities, most of them are not written by those people.
No, they have ghostwriters.
Yes.
I mean, again, I'm not going to name names, but when that book was supposed to come out, and I said months before, there's a ghostwriter. It's a ghostwriter. That person is not writing the book, and people were like, "Really?" I was like, "What do you think?" And then, of course, when the book came out, it was admitted that there was a ghostwriter. I'm like, "I told you." And I mean, I've met a lot of ghostwriters now that have published. I mean, and a lot of ghostwriters now actually now trying to publish their own books because they said when you're a ghostwriter, your name doesn't go on it, and everybody else gets the credit for it, which is
Oh yeah.
you're in the shadow, and that's great because you earn instant money. But at some point, you want to put your own name on it, saying, "Hey, I wrote this, and I'm proud of this." Yeah. I mean, I'm proud of Lucas's story, where it goes. I mean, it's, that's, I mean, I've loved spending time with him and Sarah and Davis and work. Yeah. And it's bittersweet when it's ending, but it will end and then we'll move on to the next characters.
Boy, I feel like the last book is so scary to even think about writing. Just because if you don't hit it good, like, wait, so my favorite series, the last book pissed me off. It was not it. And it didn't ruin the series for me. I still love it, but it like put a sour taste in my mouth. So now I'm like, wait, so now if I get there and I'm on the last book, if I don't do it nice, if I don't do it well, wait.
Yeah, and I'm close to that bit, and I had an ending, and I thought it was a perfect ending. But now they've got to know a lot of my readers. I'm like, they're going to be so mad at me. So I'm like, I can't do it. But part of me still wants to do it. And then I'm like, I don't know.
Someone posted this idea, like there are 10 ending versions of like 10 endings to your books.
Yeah.
Well, and then have them published 10 different endings, but there's actually only 9, so you get to watch the chaos as everyone tries to find the 10th book.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people were mad at Game of Thrones at the end of the story. And I thought the ending, I don't think it's how George Martin would end the story. Well, we know he doesn't because he hasn't even written the last book yet. But the way they ended the series, if you think about it, every character in that series got what they wanted. If they're still alive, I mean, if they hadn't been killed off, they got what they wanted in the end.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a good ending. I mean, there's things I would have changed in that story, and probably the screenwriters probably, regret some of the things that they did, but it is what it is, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can't even say anything about it because I didn't watch it.
You have not watched it? Okay. All right.
Look, it came out when I was younger. So it was inappropriate. So like the first episode I watched, and it was like a bunch of naked ladies, and I was like, okay, I'm not allowed to watch that. So I turned the channel.
Well, I saw the trailer of Game of Thrones before Game of Thrones was finished. Before it was actually out on TV. My brother-in-law said, "You got to watch this," and he had the trailer of it. I'm like, that's really, really good. And then I think it was another 2 years before it actually came out. I don't know, months. But yeah,
I have seen bits of the show that the show that came after it. That's the prequel.
I have not watched that. Yeah.
I like the characters in there
We do.
a lot
Right.
more than any of the characters in the Game of Thrones spoke to me. I
Right.
like the storyline more of the House of the Dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I
I've
like
not
that
watched
story
it.
more.
I need to watch it. But
I haven't seen all of it. I've seen chunks of it because I don't sit down and watch TV shows too much anymore. Um, but yeah, I like that storyline a lot more than Game of Thrones. But I think just maybe because Game of Thrones was just this huge expanded
yeah.
universe more so there's a lot to try to follow.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this one seems more just set, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't have dragons in my story. Not at least not in Lost Souls.
How
But
dare you?
I know.
Not
Well, but there's a lot of fantasy out there. I mean, the only person in Lost in Hidden Enemies is Lucas has special powers, but everybody else is down to earth, human as they can be,
yeah,
with their own flaws and everything else. Well, Lucas has the same flaws that
yeah.
every person has as well. But yeah, no, I kind of kept that one real.
Well, I mean, you see dragons everywhere. It's almost become a cliche, to be honest.
Well, and I think that's part. Sometimes it's the problem, isn't it? Like what years ago it was vampires, and
Oh,
everybody
the
has to write vampire
phases.
stories.
The
Yeah,
vampire phase, and then it was dystopian phase with like Divergent and Hunger Games and all that stuff.
yeah,
And then Dragons has been in
yeah,
for a while.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, and then I think that's sometimes the problem. If I think with publishers, and well, not so much as
Oh,
publishers, it's a literary agents. They're trying to chase what is now current, but I mean, by the time I don't know, people change all the time. Like,
yeah.
but if you have a good story, it's indefinite, really. Yeah, vampires is definitely out, isn't it, at the moment? I still like. I mean, the True Blood series. I read the
Yeah.
books.
I think,
The books were better than the movie, but
oh, that's always the case. I haven't found one. Wait, there was one book that I liked the movie more. Ooh, okay. I don't know. I don't really care if people come after me. I like the Lord of the Rings movies more than the books.
I've not read the books. I've only watched the movies. Yeah.
I like The Hobbit, but then when you get to Lord of the Rings, I just felt like he was trying to go too dark.
Okay.
And we talked about the giant paragraphs of description. He spent
Right.
like
Right.
2 pages talking about trees.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
No,
that-
those books are hard.
That messed me up.
No, I am
got
with
through
you.
like 2 books, and then I was like, I can't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. But I read the Hunger Games before the movie was out. Again, I think the Hunger Games books are so much better.
They're better, but the movies didn't do too bad when
No, they're pretty good.
they did decent.
Yeah.
So did Harry Potter. They're missing things, but you know what? They were good.
Yeah.
Have you read or heard about Percy Jackson and the mess of the movie?
No, the only thing I know about Percy Jackson was that the movie was made, or the deal was made to put it in a movie before the book was published. That's the only thing I heard. Yeah.
Yeah. So the book, fantastic. Okay, because of course Percy Jackson is my generation.
Mm-hmm.
The book, fantastic. The movie, in the book he's 12, in the movies he's 16.
Right.
The characters don't look like they should. They don't really act like they should. They just changed up so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the biggest grab I've ever had from books to movie is that movie.
Right.
Show was okay.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Well, I watched the Percy. I mean, my son has read all the Percy Jackson books, and he loves the books. I mean, he loves the other books of Rick Riordan as well. But yeah, I mean, we watched the movies, but he didn't seem to be too keen on the movies. He said the books were better.
If you read
he was what 9, 10 when he read Percy Jackson. So yeah.
Yeah, if he read the books first, then he understands, guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
Problem.
Yeah.
So I mean, that goes perfectly into the segue of our closing questions. So, you said the best thing to do to get better at writing is to read. So, what kind of books do you enjoy? Like, what books do you read?
Well, right now I'm reading a lot of books from other authors, to kind of support them. But yeah, I like a good medieval story. I like good fantasy as well. Yeah. I mean, I'll read anything. I'm not into the romance type books. I mean, I did when I was 16, 17, 18, but well, actually, that was no. Now you asked me the question. What was the best advice anybody could
Mhm.
give you? Okay, one of the first pieces of advice I was given, and I didn't admit to it at the time because I was 16. And the author that was mentoring me, she said, "Okay, I don't know if you're reading those trashy paperback romance books." And of course, I was. My sister had a whole stack of them. I read every single one of them. She said, "If you are, just throw them to the side because they will harm your writing." And to this day, I don't. I mean, yeah, there were.
Fair.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
See, I like a sprinkle of romance. I'm not a fan of like heavy touches. So have you heard of the book like a The Court of Thorns and Roses?
No.
Oh, it's all the rave, and it's like romance. It's like a fantasy romance based off like Beauty and the Beast. I
Okay.
I struggled so hard to get through it
Oh,
just
really?
because it's romance.
Okay.
You can tell where it's going.
Okay. Well, they're so predictable. That's the
Mhm.
problem with those books. I mean, yeah. But I
You know
mean,
it's gonna get
there's a
together, so
market
just do
out
it.
there. Yeah, I
Huh?
mean, there's a market out there, and if people
Oh
want
yeah.
to read those, yeah, read them. I mean, that's why there's authors that write those books because there's people that want to read those books.
It's like
Yeah.
you do you, just not for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to reading it, but I wouldn't write it. I mean, yeah.
Hmm.
I mean,
Oh yeah.
I'm more in the medieval fantasy world, sort of.
Hmm.
I think I will be writing a historic one as well, but I haven't decided yet whether that's going to be an adult story or YA. I think it might
Yeah.
be adult, but that will be years later, years from now, and that will be based on historic facts.
Ooh. See, I respect an author that can write a historical, like factual story and have it
Hmm.
still sound like a story.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, what do you think is an underappreciated novel that you think people should read?
Uh, I don't know. I mean, there's so many good books out there, and I think there's so many good books out there that haven't even been published because I think a lot of authors it's so hard to publish at the moment.
Mm,
Um, so I think there's so many books out there that never going to see the light of day.
mm.
And they're probably buried in the if they are already published or self-published, they might be buried in the whole Amazon algorithm system. You
Oh
know?
yeah, I Amazon is something else. Anyways,
Yeah, that's a yeah. You can
I
yeah.
understand. So, if you could live in any fictional world, like would you live in your fictional world? Like if you could go into the
Well,
book?
well, I am an archaeologist at the same time, so I do
Ooh.
um, I have to place myself in in different settings and different eras and stuff. And my sons, both of them, they said, "Oh, they'd like to live in medieval times," and I'm like, um, I don't know if I would want to live in that. I think I would probably want to live in 18th century, probably.
Well, yeah, like back in the day, but still some sort of modern comfort.
Well, yeah, yeah. Well, past the plague, the
Yeah.
plague, and things like that,
Mhm.
and hardship and stuff. But because even in the castle, I mean, for my book 4, I last summer I visited several castle ruins because I needed this thing for Lucas to, get
Mhm.
out of a castle. And I was like, instead of climbing over a castle over the wall, just a cliche, there has to be something that I can use in the story
Yeah.
that really exists. And I did find it in one of the ruins. So yeah, I wander around all these ruins and I imagine what it would be like to live there. So I would like to go back in those times just to see what it was really, really like.
Not to live, just to hang out, and then
Yeah, hang out. Yeah. Yeah, time travel. Yeah.
Mhm. So yeah, well, yeah. My husband asked me about like, "Ooh, would you want to live in this place or this place?" I'm like, no, because I mean it's the hardship, right? Like, oh, do you want to live in this movie universe? I'm like, no, the Earth gets attacked like every 2 weeks. I don't want to be a part
Right.
of that. Like,
Yeah.
cool, the world's cool, but no.
Yeah. Well, and I think also in those days you didn't travel very far. I mean,
Oh,
you only lived maybe in the village, and then you might move to walk to the next village, but that was it. So your world was a lot smaller as
mm,
well. I do like these days when you can go anywhere. I mean, I traveled around Australia. It's where I met my husband. Actually, he was traveling too, but not by himself. He had a friend with him. But yeah, I just like to explore, and it's yeah.
that's I'm a little jealous of you. You've got to explore so many things.
Well, just do it. I mean, what's stopping you? Well, you've got Dawn now, but when Dawn is a little bit bigger, you don't even have to go far. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The thing I really want to do, I've been wanting to do since high school, is there's a haunted road trip where you get to go to all the haunted towns in the
Yeah.
United States, but it's like 2 months worth of traveling.
Well, then pick one or two at a time.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
I
I just need to find one for Texas
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
just do Texas and then travel out.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean,
So
life is too short. I mean, I always say people saying, "Oh, I haven't been to these places." I say, well, what's stopping you? Okay,
just go.
a lot of the people say, "Well, money." I'm like,
Oh yeah.
I went to Australia with very little money in my pocket, and I
Mm-hmm.
worked my way around Australia. There are ways to do it. You can also volunteer, like in missions, or in Africa, they have all these programs that you can go and help out.
Like,
In the
yeah.
village and stuff. So there's ways to go and travel, and volunteer your time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's harder when you have a family. That's
Oh, 100%.
yeah,
Completely understand.
yeah, yeah.
So, do you participate in any like social media challenges, like the writing challenges that pop up every so often? I mean, they pop up all the time on my Facebook, but
I don't see them pop up that many times, but no, I don't. No, because I have my own stories to write, and I don't need to do these writing challenges.
yeah,
Um,
that's
yeah,
fair.
yeah.
So, how do you use social media as an author?
I hate it. And I know I'm not the only author that hates it. I
I
mean,
also hate it.
yeah, I mean, I'm just not very good at it and not consistent. I mean, I have Instagram, I have Facebook, I sometimes on TikTok, but not consistently. I've had two authors text me via Instagram, and it was 2 weeks later I actually saw that they text me on it, and I said, I already told you I don't check it often, but yeah, I'm not good at it. It takes over your life, I think.
Yeah. So the thing is, my problem is I can consistent for like 3 weeks. I drop off for 2, and then I jump back on 3 weeks without
Right.
meaning to. But what I do is I told you about Canva, right? I use Canva just to create the social media posts,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
of them on Sunday, download them on my tablet so that every morning I just post everything like for the
Okay.
day, and then I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, done for the week.
Yeah. No, I'm still exploring things, and they keep saying as well that you should concentrate on maybe one or two things and do those well,
Mm,
and not try all those other things. Yeah.
yeah.
I haven't really. I really like the in-person contact with my reader.
Oh, 100%. That's so
Yeah,
much nicer.
that's so. I mean, I love school visits. I mean, talking to kids. I mean, I had
Mhm.
a fifth grade class, and I thought, oh, they're a little bit young for my book, but I mean, it worked. I mean, I just talked to them about my writing experience, how I became a writer, which can apply to any grade. To be honest, I don't even
Well,
have to read my
mm,
books. I mean,
mm,
um, yeah, and it was because it was I asked the group, I had the fifth graders, and I had to keep them busy because I kept changing, because you have 5 minutes of attention here, and then I read a bit, and then I asked more questions. And at one point I said, okay, now who does not like to read? And of course they all look at you like, oh, you're going backwards. Like, I don't want to say I don't like to read. I said, but this, I said, well, in my story, in Blood Ties, there's one person that does not like to read either. And Lucas addresses that because it's the princess, who doesn't like to read. But her father says that she has to learn to read, because what if her advisors are reading the scrolls for her when she's a queen and she can't read it? They might lie to her. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah, that's my problem. Like, as like I'm an English teacher, and they don't think they need English. They think, well, I can just text this person. I don't need to know how to like act like, because I told them like it's about communication and critical thinking and stuff like that. Like, I just text the person. I just call the person. It's like, but really,
Yeah.
it's like not finding that purpose. The reason
But
why.
with now you're talking about your high school English or middle school?
I'm middle school, 7th and 8th.
Yeah, I mean, do you get to choose the books that the kids get to read, or no? It's on the curriculum.
I don't.
Right.
What we did last year or this year is at the beginning of the year we did like a novel study, and then they did 10 minutes of their own reading, and then we did short reading and analyzing those pieces.
Right, so you don't get to choose the books that you want to read to your class, and I think this is where the whole system falls short, right? Because you can have a class, the books have to be relevant for the kids you have in front of you. You have kids from different cultures. Here go the dogs. Oh, no, there's one. Where are you going? And this is the problem. My son, who used to read all the time, stopped reading in middle school and high school because he had to read books that were of no interest to him. Yeah. I mean, these books are maybe, well, they were not even favorable 30 years ago. But if every teacher is allowed to choose their own books, I mean, you know what books will be reasonable, good for, even if you have 10 to choose from, and then apply it to the class you have in front of you.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Right? I mean, if you have a lot of football players in your class, I mean, you could have like, stories about, I'm sure there's football players that have books out, the whole biography.
Well, yeah, there's a really good author that's just sports stories, and even I like his books.
Yeah, because not every kid likes fiction. Yeah. Yeah. And that's just, I mean, because where I grew up Dutch, and I had to learn English, we had to read English books. Well, yeah, we had a whole list of books. And fortunately, I think I was lucky in the Dutch lesson and the English ones, that they were more flexible about what books you had to read. I mean, in the English, we had a whole list of books that we had to read. And I read some of them, and they were boring. They just, and I really wanted to read certain different kind of books. So I asked my teacher, could I choose my own books? And he said, well, I have to approve them. I said, well, that's okay. So I was reading so much as well. I was reading 3 books a week, and I constantly put more books on his desk, and like, can I read this? Can I read this? Can I read this? And he looks through it, he's like, yeah, you can read that. Yeah, you can read that. But that was great because I kept reading that way.
Nowadays it's getting students to even want to attempt that. It's a struggle.
Yeah, and then of course my daughter has dyslexia. There's so many books, and yes, of course, then that's okay. Well, she can use Reading Alley, that reads it out loud to you. It's not the same. But if you have a book, actually, she was able to read Blood Ties. I finally convinced her. There was a bit of bribing going on there. About pick a book and read a book. And she said, we don't have a book. So she started reading mine. And she said, actually, I can read yours because it's fast paced. It held her attention. She has a little bit of ADHD maybe as well. Not sure. But yeah, it held her attention. But if you have other books that are, on the literature list, those kids are never going to read it.
No, yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
yeah. I think that's a shame. I think every teacher and every librarian should be able to choose their own books.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
So let's not talk about book banning in Texas.
Yes, we're not.
No, no.
So I think this is going to be the last question.
Okay.
Only because I like this question.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I think music makes movies. Without it, it's not going anywhere. So, do you listen to music while you write, or is it
All
like
the time. All the time. Yeah, I have music playing all the time. Yeah.
silent?
And different music to different scenes as well. Yeah. And
So,
then I think on my kids, well, I'll play, I like, I find a song that I hear on the radio and I go on the tune mostly than the lyrics,
mm,
you know. And then I'll download it on my phone and I will play it in the car over and over and over and over again because I'm thinking through a scene because and my kids are like, well, you're listening to the same songs over and over again. I say, yeah, until like 2 weeks later, and then I pick another song and then listen
and
to
I'm done.
it. Yeah, because I've
Have
moved
you
on.
have you thought about like building a playlist for your readers to listen to while they're reading? Since you say you choose songs based on different scenes, have you
No,
thought
because
about?
I think music is personal. What I like
Yeah.
and what I associate with the scene might not be what somebody else, likes. And to be honest, when I'm reading a book, I can read anywhere. If it's a good book, I'll be engrossed in it and I'll keep reading it. But I wouldn't want to listen to music at the same time as I'm reading a book. Writing is different because it's just in the background, isn't it?
See, I'm the opposite, right? If I'm reading the music, I like it because it's just noise. I don't hear the lyrics. But when I'm writing and I'm listening to lyrics, I start writing the lyrics as I'm
Oh yeah,
listening.
but actually, I tune the lyrics out. I don't even listen to because my son did a test one time. He said, "Okay, Mom, what kind of music do you like?" I said, I don't have a particular genre. I go on the music, the instrumental behind a song.
Oh yeah, I
And
love the
within
violin
the first
part.
few seconds, it has to grip, and I don't care about the lyrics. So he played all these different songs, and so do you like this? No, no. And sometimes I would say no within the first second. And she said,
It's like
"That's not
done.
funny." I said, "I know it when I like a song is because, the music's, you know,
It's
grab
the
you."
vibe.
Mm, yeah. And so I don't have a favorite musician either because, like Harry Styles, there's one song I really like
Mm.
of him, but then the other songs like, not so much.
Like asking that question is like asking like, oh, who's your favorite author? What's your favorite book? There's just so many options that
Yeah.
I like so many of them. It's like I
Mm-hmm.
can't choose. I mean, I know my favorite book series. I know my favorite book. But if you ask me anything beyond that, I'm like,
Yeah.
there's too many. I like them all.
Yeah. 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 Well, and it's the same thing with every author as well. What one book that an author wrote is really good, the other one may not be because it's a different.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. So I try to give everybody a chance.
Mm.
Um.
But yeah, that's all they expect you to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was all
So,
I had.
okay. Yeah.
Thank you so much for doing this. It was
No,
fun.
it's okay. It's fun. I always liked talking about reading and writing and
Mm.
books and stuff.
Well, yeah, the biggest thing that I was thinking about when I was started to do, I want to do these things is the writing process because I think it's fun to discuss how different it is for everybody,
Yeah.
different kinds of struggles and strategies people use to get through certain things. So yeah, well, again, thank
Yeah.
you.
You know what? We didn't talk about writer's block.
Ooh, yeah, yeah. How do you? That's wait up. How do you face writer's block?
See, I see writer's block as a way of that I want the story to go in one direction and the story wants to go in another direction. Let's say I'm standing at the
Ooh.
crossroads, right? And I'm going left. and I just hit a dead end, and I'm trying to get over that hedge or whatever blockage is on the road, and I cannot get over it or around it because it just doesn't match. And then I go back where where it all was still good, and then I go a different direction.
That is such a beautiful way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not just like people say it's procrastination, some people say it's laziness or whatever, but it's crossroads.
It's the crossroads, and literally in Lost Souls, that's actually literally happening. Wait, I can't say too much because I'll give it away. But I'll just say this: I had written actually just lost hidden and yeah. Well, the King's Chosen was supposed to finish after 2 books. I had written 2 books, and that was going to be it. And then, but my editor started reading, Blood Ties. Within the first few chapters, she said, "Okay, start writing book 3." And I said, "Well, no, it finishes at book 2." And she said, "No." She said, "This needs to become a series. Start writing book 3." And I was like, but so I chopped off a couple of chapters from the ending of the story, went back, and in book 3, literally, I was like, how can I change the story? I literally changed the whole ending of the story, and I went back into book 2, and I stopped it at a certain point, and then they would have normally gone. They were turning left, and I stopped them and I let them go right.
It's like, fine, we'll go your way.
Yeah,
it's the same thing about like characters leading the way instead of.
Yeah, because I was trying to change things. How can I, from the original ending, how can I move forward to, to write a third one? And I was struggling with it, and I'm like, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, you know what? I'll stop it over here, and then they're going right, and that was it. That was it. Story took off.
Perfect.
So
I don't know how I forgot writer's block. It's in my list, but anyways.
All right. Yeah. Well, how do you deal with writer's block then?
I stopped writing for a second.
Yeah.
Like, if I get to a place where I'm like, I don't know, I'll either start focusing on a different story. Okay, I'll start focusing on another story. I'll read, or like I'll watch something that, like, movies tend to inspire me. Like, books, movies, shows, they tend to inspire me. So I just watch something that will spark some idea. So I'm like, okay, now I can go back.
Yeah, but don't you think you got stuck because you're pushing the story in a direction it doesn't?
Yeah, I think when I'm doing that, it's me trying to be like, I want this.
Yes.
It's just not working.
No. No.
I mean, do a different approach.
Because in the King's Chosen, there's one true king. Lucas has the sole power to save 2 medieval kingdoms from destruction, and there can only be one king. And people are asking me, in book 4, that who is the true king? And I said, you know what? I have no idea yet. I'm going to let Lucas decide that one. He knows probably already. I have no clue. I have no clue.
We're all learning together.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So I actually asked some of my readers, well, who do you want it to be?
Get their ideas.
Yeah, that's I want it to be so and so, but I think it might be the other one.
So. Hey, it's a whodunit, or not a whodunit, but that kind of vibe.
Yeah. Yeah. So now I'm like, okay, I'm still not 100% sure, but I think I know what needs to happen to make it clearer.
Nice.
So it's fun. I love it. I love creating stories and all the different plots and twists and surprises that you can come up with.
That's what it's all about. It's not about the money. I mean, if it's cool if you get paid, sure, but it's not about. Yeah. But.
Yeah. No, I mean it's the best payment to me is when a reader reaches out and says, "Hey, I love your story. When's the next one coming out?"
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, for
That's
sure.
that's yeah, that's the best.
Hmm.
So
Well,
all right. Well,
thank you for doing this. It was really fun.
don't know where the dog went. She just went past me. Now I've lost her somewhere.
Disappeared like magic.
Yeah, I don't know where she is. Oh, there she's hiding. Okay. Yeah. That's a circus. Talking about a circus goat, that's a circus dog. He jumps up. Yes, I'm talking about you.
So yeah. So I think yeah, this is a good ending. I'm gonna
Yeah.
edit mess with.
Good.
Here's what's gonna happen is give me well, my summer's about to open up because school summer. Give me a little while. I'm gonna edit it, add some visual cute little things. And I will I will publish it on YouTube and then I'll send it to you so then you can watch it before I start posting the link everywhere and stuff.
Okay. Yeah. No problem.
I want you to view it before I post it, so
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
miss anything, you can see
Yeah.
it.
Okay. All right.
You have a wonderful night.
You
Definitely keep
too.
in touch.
Have a good weekend.
You too.
All right. Bye.
Bye.